I tried my best to make a top 10 favorite Pokemon, and it was just too hard. With over 700 of these guys, it's difficult to make a list of only 10 Pokemon without a lot of pre-planning and consideration. The Pokemon Company has created so many amazing Pokemon that it's hard not to like so many of them. So I decided that we'll be having a series of many different top 10 favorites, where we go through each different region, in addition to the legendaries. We'll then conclude with the final list of my top 10 favorite Pokemon. So, with all of that, what we have today is my top 10 favorite legendary Pokemon. Number 10, Giratina. The 4th generation was a time where Pokemon started to dip into a more serious mode, and Giratina was the Pokemon to really show it off. A lot of the other legendaries had a somewhat playful look to them. However, Giratina didn't want any of that. He was this pure, raw beast. From his ghastly stature to his mythical look, he was such an interesting addition to the roster of legends. Pokemon Platinum really brought this to light with the Distortion World, which was possibly the most serious and deadly looking dungeon at the time. Giratina had an eerie feel with his different forms and powerful attacks, thus putting him at number 10. Number 9, Mewtwo. Mewtwo might be one of the most iconic legendaries, the original Badman. He had an amazing movie, an awesome showing in the anime, and many great qualities. But after a while, he just started to fade out of the spotlight. Alright, I know this is a list of my favorite legendaries, and it seems like I'm ragging on Mewtwo, but I need to preemptively defend myself from the terror that are Gen 1ers. Mewtwo is still one of my favorite legendaries, and I love his design and how he was portrayed. But after a while, I feel as though he was so hyped he lost a lot of his appeal. In addition to that, his Mega Evolutions were fairly trivial and made him seem less serious. It also made him look as though his original design wasn't good enough, so it needed an upgrade for the newer generations. I still love Mewtwo for all his classic moments and the amazing presents you got from him after navigating the unknown dungeon and finding him just sitting there. It was awesome, but as time went on and as the Pokemon Company tried to force nostalgia on us, he fell to the bottom of my list. Number 8, Heatran. This may seem like an odd pick, but like I mentioned before, the 4th generation added a sort of new feeling to some of their Pokemon. Heatran was one of those guys. I love the combination of fire and steel as well as how he seemed like a funny little pet. He didn't seem as serious as some of the other legendaries, he just seemed like a cuddly, happy, fire metal thingy. I also used him a lot when I used to battle competitively, and he was just really fun to use. Heatran is just one of those Pokemon I had a bunch of happy moments with and couldn't leave him out of this. Number 7, Latios. Latios is cool. That really summarizes my thoughts of Latios. Just look at him, he has the face of not caring, he just wants to chill, go fast. He has a Sonic lifestyle. He does what he wants when he wants. He just has a very sleek design and an awesome look. I think that's enough to like a Pokemon. Number 6, Shaymin. I love a lot of the 4th gen legendaries just for the different presentations that are given from each of them. You know how sometimes you watch interviews of actors or well-known people and you think, hey, they're just like me. Well, that was the feeling Shaymin gave me. Not that I was a grass hedgehog or porcupine or a bush, but that he was just an average Pokemon that was happy to exist and just happened to be a legendary. Shaymin's just an awesome guy. I love seeing him so happy and cute, dressing so well with that little flower in his ear, and then boom! Transforms and now he's banned from competitive battling. That's how you know he's a real man. He's banned. Number 5, Articuno. One of the anime episodes I remember the most was when Ash was challenging the Frontier head Noland and choosing to fight his Articuno with his Charizard. It really highlighted the graceful design of Articuno and how powerful he is. First of all, let me sidetrack and say how dumb Ash is. Like, I know he won, but he had the opportunity to make that so much easier for him because Nolan said, choose any of my Pokemon to battle against, and then Ash chooses Articuno? Like, what? That's not playing to win? What a scrub. Anyways, back on track. One of my favorite / least favorite dungeons in the 1st generation are the Seafoam Islands. I say favorite and least favorite because, well, it's a bit of a pain to navigate, and this was a time when I didn't use Repel, so it was a bit more obnoxious to get through than it should have been. But once I finally did and I found that majestic bird, it was all worth it. Number 4, Jirachi. Some might say Celebi was the first non-intimidating looking legendary. or they might even say Mew. But Jirachi was definitely the most playful looking one, the most cheery one. I remember turning on the television and seeing his movie being played. I missed a lot of it, but seeing Jirachi in that movie still stands out in my memory for some reason. I managed to obtain a Jirachi from the bonus disc of Pokemon Coliseum, and it was awesome to use them in battles. A lot of my fondest memories of Pokemon were just small things I remember from the movies, or when I was able to get a hard to obtain Pokemon in one of my games. And, well, I was able to have both those moments with this little guy. Number 3, Zapdos. Zapdos is my favorite Pokemon out of any of the legendary trios. I was always a fan of his design. Seeing him for the first time in Pokemon Yellow as I managed my way through the power plant was shocking. Ha, jokes. But in all honesty, just the spikiness of his design, the sporadic lines everywhere, just made me really like him. I loved his look and he instantly became one of my favorite Pokemon. Not only that, but the transition from the Game Boy game to Pokemon Stadium on the N64 was an awesome one to see. Looking at him in full 3D and using him throughout my runs at the game, since he was one of the best rental Pokemon, were some of my favorite Pokemon memories. Number 2, Deoxys. I've always loved Deoxys for how he's grown up throughout the games, mainly because he was somewhat neglected in the games themselves. That might seem like a bad thing, but it made him special. Now, before I keep going, I will say I have not watched his movie. I haven't seen many of the Pokemon movies, and that's something I plan on going back to one day. But my opinion of Deoxys is solely based off his role in the games. I mentioned Deoxys in a previous top 10, but let me just go over why he's one of my favorites. His design aside, I love the mystery behind him. He looks as powerful and intimidating as all the other legendaries, but he was rarely mentioned or shown. Not only that, but it was really hard to obtain him. This mystery made his awesome design even cooler and let my imagination go wild. He was also someone who wasn't altered with Mega Evolutions or being randomly available in the game without any reason for him being there. He just remained a mystery. Not only that, but his different forms added so much to him. Deoxys will forever be one of my favorite Pokemon just based off of the fact that he was really hard to obtain. The Birth Island triangle thing was still a mistake though. Number 1. My number 1 favorite legendary Pokemon has to be Lugia. The Pokemon 2000 movie is definitely the movie that I remember the most. Now you might go, "Aw, what about the first movie?" Well, my memory is terrible, so I remember really random things vividly, and the second movie is just that. I've always loved Lugia. I picked Pokemon Silver because when I saw his design, I thought, yes, I really want this Pokemon. The second movie is also the reason why I picked Articuno and Zapdos so highly. There was something so amazing about seeing all these birds flying around and lighting the world on fire, ice, and electric jolts or something. When Lugia made his appearance in the movie, I was stunned. I loved his presentation and how he looked. Lugia was one of my favorite legendary designs. It was very simple and sleek and has this awesome color scheme. The nostalgia I get from when I see Lugia's design is something I don't get as much from the other legendaries. While Mewtwo and the older legendaries might give that feeling to others, Lugia had the look that wasn't too over the top, so you might think, yeah, this guy could actually exist. Lugia is definitely my favorite legendary Pokemon for all the warm feels I get when I see him. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm sorry that these take so long to come out, but I write really slowly. But please make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more top 10s. Also, why don't you guys tell me what your favorite legendary Pokemon is, why? I know I had maybe some weird picks, and it's hard to put them all into just choosing 10 of them, but sometimes, you know, you gotta do that. I'll also explain at some point why I didn't have any 5th gen Pokemon, or actually 6th gen in here, but you know, hopefully you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.